I created a video on the 5 best developed countries to have a chance of survival in a true long-term SHTF situation. So let's look at the opposite end of that list. In today's interconnected world, where news travels fast and global crises can impact us all, it's essential to consider how different countries might fare in a long-term SHTF scenario. We often think of developed nations as having the resources and the infrastructure to weather any storm, but the reality is that each country faces its own set of challenges that could affect its ability to survive and thrive in the face of prolonged adversity. Just so you're aware, a developed country, also called an industrialized country, has a mature and sophisticated economy, usually measured by gross domestic product or GDP, and or average income per resident. Developed countries have advanced technological infrastructure, and they have diverse industrial and service sectors. I'm focusing on developed countries because most people who live in these lands feel more complacent about their chances of surviving a long-term catastrophic situation. So let's take a look at 10 developed countries and the unique hurdles they might encounter in a prolonged SHTF situation. These are not in any particular order. Japan. Despite its technological prowess and efficient infrastructure, Japan's densely populated urban areas and limited agricultural land could pose significant challenges in sustaining its population over the long term. And with the vulnerability to natural disasters like earthquakes and tsunamis, Japan would need robust self-sufficiency measures to ensure the well-being of its citizens. The United Kingdom. As an island nation heavily reliant on imported goods, the UK could face serious disruptions to its supply chains in a prolonged crisis. With densely populated cities and limited agricultural capacity, ensuring food and resource security would be paramount for long-term survival. The Netherlands. Known for its innovative water management systems, the Netherlands nevertheless faces the threat of rising sea levels and the potential for widespread flooding. With much of its land below sea level, the country would need to invest in resilient infrastructure and self-sufficiency measures to adapt to changing environmental conditions. Singapore. A bustling metropolis known for its economic success, Singapore's small size and dependence on imports leaves it vulnerable to supply chain disruptions in a long-term crisis. Ensuring access to essential resources like food and water would be critical for the city-state's survival. South Korea. Despite its advanced technology and strong economy, South Korea's proximity to North Korea and the potential for prolonged conflict could destabilize the region and strain its resources over time. Maintaining social cohesion and security would be vital for long-term survival. Italy. Blessed with a rich cultural heritage and stunning landscapes, Italy nevertheless faces challenges like aging demographics and economic stagnation. In a prolonged crisis, the country would need to overcome governance issues and promote community resilience to ensure the well-being of its population. Turkey. Straddling Europe and Asia, Turkey faces geopolitical tensions and internal conflicts that could escalate in a prolonged SHTF scenario. With a diverse population and reliance on imported goods, the country would need to prioritize stability and self-sufficiency to navigate through turbulent times. Mexico. Despite its vibrant culture and natural beauty, Mexico grapples with issues like crime, corruption, and economic inequality. In a long-term crisis, the country would need to address these systemic challenges and promote social cohesion to ensure the safety and well-being of its citizens. Brazil. With its vast rainforests and abundant natural resources, Brazil has the potential for self-sufficiency. However, governance issues, environmental degradation, and social inequality could undermine its resilience in a prolonged SHTF scenario, highlighting the need for effective leadership and community cooperation. Russia. Spanning 11 time zones and encompassing diverse landscapes, Russia is rich in natural resources, but it faces governance challenges and economic disparities. In a prolonged crisis, the country would need to harness its vast potential and promote unity among its citizens to weather the storm. And for those of you wondering, since I haven't mentioned it in either video, the U.S. would rank in the top 10 for survival chances. The reason it would rank highly include abundant natural resources. The U.S. has diverse landscapes and abundant natural resources, including fertile land for agriculture, vast energy reserves, and access to fresh water sources. Advanced infrastructure. The country boasts advanced infrastructure, including robust transportation networks, communication systems, and emergency response capabilities. Economic diversity. The U.S. has a diverse and dynamic economy with strong industrial, technological, agricultural, and financial sectors that contribute to its overall resilience. Social cohesion and resilience. Despite political polarization and social challenges, the U.S. has a tradition of community resilience, individual preparedness, and volunteerism that can help mitigate the impact of disasters. Military and security capabilities. The U.S. possesses one of the world's most powerful military forces and security apparatus, which can provide stability and security in times of crisis. And of course, the reasons it isn't higher on the list of best are pretty obvious. Border crisis and migration pressures. The ongoing border crisis and influx of migrants place additional strain on resources and infrastructure, potentially stretching capacity and complicating crisis response efforts, especially in border regions. Political polarization. Deep political divisions and gridlock in policy making can hinder effective decision making and response to crises, potentially undermining national resilience. Dependency on foreign energy sources. The current administration's policies restricting domestic fossil fuel production, including mining and drilling activities, have heightened the U.S.'s dependence on energy imports from other countries. This resilience and reliance on foreign energy sources not only compromises energy security, it also creates vulnerabilities because it exposes the country to geopolitical risks and fluctuations in global energy markets. Importing energy from countries that may not have friendly relations with the U.S. increases the potential for disruptions in supply and could undermine national resilience in the face of prolonged crises. Socioeconomic disparities. Significant socioeconomic disparities exist in the U.S., which can exacerbate vulnerabilities and inequalities during times of crisis, impacting the ability of certain communities to cope and to recover. Healthcare system challenges. The U.S. healthcare system faces challenges like high costs, uneven access to care, and disparities in health outcomes, which could strain resources and resilience in the face of a prolonged crisis, especially a public health emergency. Infrastructure vulnerability. While the U.S. has advanced infrastructure in many areas, it also faces vulnerabilities, including aging infrastructure, vulnerabilities to cyber attacks, and inadequate maintenance, which could hamper resilience in the event of infrastructure failures or disruptions. Dependence on complex supply chains. The U.S. economy relies heavily on complex global supply chains for essential goods and services, which could be vulnerable to disruptions during a prolonged crisis, impacting resource availability and resilience. Geopolitical instabilities. While the U.S. is a global superpower, it also faces geopolitical tensions and security challenges, which could impact stability and resilience, especially in an increasingly multipolar world. Social cohesion and trust in institutions. Declining levels of social cohesion and trust in institutions could undermine collective action and cooperation, impacting the U.S.'s resilience and response efforts during times of crisis. While developed countries may possess advanced infrastructure and technology, they are not immune to the challenges of a long-term SHTF scenario. On a personal level, each of us has to boost our own resilience in the face of potential long-term adversity. By focusing on self-sufficiency, fostering community connections, and gathering every bit of knowledge we can find to help our chances, we can enhance our potential to survive and thrive in challenging circumstances.